So my name is Ian Underhill, and today in this demonstration we're going to look at EPLAN Pro Panel. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how that fits in with the EPLAN world. So EPLAN, the project EPLAN, is this bottom line here that underpins all our different tools. So we have various tools like pre-planning fluid, electrical P8, which there's a demo going on with that one, Harness Pro D, and Pro Panel, which is what I'm going to demonstrate. So all of these tools work on the EPLAN project, which is the database. So having said that, let's look at Pro Panel. So Pro Panel is a 3D panel layout tool. It works generally with your existing schematics. So if I show you, I have this is an IEC project, but that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether it's IEC or an FPA style project. So I have a project here with schematics, with components in it that we use. And from that, we can generate a panel layout. So this is an example of such a panel layout. But to do that, first we've got to start somewhere, and we've got to start typically with a control panel. So let me demonstrate how we might add a control panel. So we do this in the layout space area. So I'm going to create a new layout space. I just right-click in the layout space navigator, and it pops up a dialog here where I name the layout space. So I'm just going to call it demo, and I get to pick what structure identifier. So typically in this IEC project, we've named the panels A1, A2, A3, A4. So I would pick in the structure identifier where I want that to be, so that when I did a bill of materials, it would know where to assign these parts. So if I did a bill of materials for panel A1, for example, it would know how to assign those parts. So I'm not going to select anything because that's not necessary at the moment. Then we're going to go panel. So this is a blank layout space, a 3D environment. And for the panel, I'm going to use a retail panel. I will show you quickly that included in EPLAN Pro Panel, you have access to the data portal. So that's where I'm going to find my control panels. The data portal, again, is probably being demonstrated in one of the other rooms. But basically, it's a cloud-based repository for manufacturer's data. The manufacturer owns the data, supplies it to EPLAN, and we just store it in a place where they can, where it's stored, and we can get access through from within EPLAN. So I picked retail. I actually went and searched for a housing, so we can see there's all sorts of enclosures from retail. You could search, if you knew the part number, you could search for it. You can actually, there's a configuration tool with EPLAN through retail that you can configure a panel, and we'll look at that briefly later. But I picked a panel. You could, once you found a panel, say for example if it's this one's got some accessories, you can download them all into a shopping cart and download everything. The panel I selected, I'll show you my shopping cart earlier. So I downloaded a particular control panel, which is, it's a freestanding enclosure. I can't remember, it's in amongst this lot. But as you can see, there was a load of accessories that came with it. So there's the panel I picked, 1000 by 1800 by 400 mil TS enclosure with all the accessories that are related to it. So there's 107. And then I downloaded them. I'm not going to do that now because obviously it'd take a little while and you don't want to sit watching my computer work. But once I've got downloaded, once I've got the part in the parts database, which is what that does, I can just select from the menu. This is a menu to insert an enclosure. And this is the one that I downloaded earlier. So here's the panel. Gives me a little bit of information about it. So it's a rental cabinet with two doors at the front. So that's the one I'm going to use, and I select OK. And there's my panel, and I can just place it in my environment. It offers me a second one. So if I want to place the second one to bay them together, I can do that. And you see it gives you tools so you know how to line them up correctly. So I'm going to just put the two in here and then hit escape. So now in my demo, I've got two enclosures, and we can see the different parts of the enclosures. I can show you the mounting panels, showing you the doors. If I want to add items to the doors, I'm going to show everything again. And I've got my control panel. I probably need a few accessories. These are a bayed pair of control panels. So I probably want a plinth. I certainly want side panels on each of these. So I'm going to select the one panel, go into the accessories. And here we see when I downloaded all those 109 parts, they're all tied together with this panel. So it knows what's available. So I want a wall. I'll pick the wall, and there's some different options. So I'm going to pick a screw fastened side panel. I don't want it so you can open it and lockable. I just want it screwed on. And I want, for this one, I want it on the left. So I select that particular one. And then I add it to the list here at the bottom by selecting the down arrow. And I'm going to put a 200mm plinth on this one. So here's the plinth, the base assembly. I select it and add it in. And I think there is a intermediate panel. I'm going to select one of these intermediate panels. I want it on the right. This one. Select OK. And you see it automatically adds it in the right place. The model is set up with mounting aids, so that it knows how to connect the side panel and the. And I'm going to do the same again for this panel. Again, go to the accessories. Again, I'm going to pick a wall. This one, I want it to be on the right. And I'm going to pick the plinth, the 200mm. So add that one first. And the plinth, add that one. Okay. So there you see quickly how you might put the panel together that you can then start laying it out. And if I just quickly show you, I show only the mounting panels. You see it's added that infill panel. So I can place duct work and components right across the panel. So that's how you might pick a panel. I'm not going to do this, is obviously a very big panel. So I'm going to pick one a little smaller to demonstrate. Let's get rid of that one. I'm going to pick a panel that already exists within this project here. So I'm going to, again, select new. I'm going to call it B1 X1, if that's the name of it. Description, there's a junction box layout. And here I get to pick the structures. So here's the structure that I've got, the different enclosures, and here's the one that I would like to do. I want to do this terminal box. So it now knows anything that I place in this space is relative to that. So again, empty layout space, let me add just a little junction box. And the particular one I want to pick, I'm going to pick this one here. So it's a 400 by 400 junction box with no mounting plate and without any glam plates. And I place that. Just want the one. What it does need is a mounting plate. It's got no mounting plate. So let me add that from accessories. And we see there's just one mounting plate. So there's my mounting plate in my box. Now I'm ready to start placing components. So let's look at it from the front, and we don't need to see any of the rest. We just need to see the mounting panel. So I'm going to first go and place some duct work. Again, from the toolbar, I can select duct work, and I have just a few items. Again, they're Rittle parts, but there are companies like Panduit and Tahalit that have duct available on the data portal. I'm just going to pick this one, which is nominally a 1 inch by 3 inch duct. And you see instantly it puts the grid up because it knows we want to place this duct work on the grid, or have the option to. So I'm going to select here. So these grids are 10mm grids, and you can see probably from the cursor that tells me the position of the point I'm selecting. And then I've just dragged the grid across. Now I could just randomly select one of these grid points, but I want this to be neat. It's 20mm in from the edge on the left. I want it to be 20mm in from the edge on the right. So I select my placement object options and I select -20. Now I can pick the edge, and you see there it's placed the right-hand end 20mm from the edge of the panel. Now I want another piece, and it needs to be the same size of that. So I can use the adopt length tool. I can pick this, and now I've got a piece of duct work that's exactly the same length. So I'm going to place that there. And then lastly, I'm going to place some duct work going down. And use the A key to shift it. And the same here. So you see, very easily I've placed my duct work. Next, I'm going to do add some mounting rail. Typically, most times we're using DIN 35 mounting rail. So we have some mounting rail. That's the only one I've got available. Again, a Rittle component, but there are other manufacturers available in the data portal. And once again, I probably want a little bit of space. I don't want to be butted up right against the duct work. That makes it difficult for the guy putting it together to fit it in. So I'm going to use the placement options tool to give myself a 4-meter gap. I can select the center, and again, placement options, and -4. So there's the duct work. Now we need to start adding the components. Now actually, maybe I want to move this down a little bit, so I'm going to move that down there, and I can adjust the length with my change length tool. I'll change the length of that one because I think I might struggle to fit the parts in. If you were doing it, you'd pay attention to what size of the parts were before you maybe made the duct work. So there's there's my layout. If I go into a navigator we have, so in parts and devices and the 3D mounting navigator, this gives me a list of all the components, all the areas where the components are. Obviously, again, I don't want to search through this, so I can use a filter here, the mounting location, and I can either type it in or I can select from the list. I'm going to select this one, and it gives me a list of all the items from the circuits that need to be mounted. So you see it's added this particular item, which is the box, and here's the back plate, and then each of the bits of duct work. So it's added that, so if I do a bill of materials, that information is available. I have one component here, which is actually some PLC device. I can select it, and I can just drag it and drop it in. That's simple. Now I just realized I actually want another piece of duct work here, so maybe I'll give myself enough space. So let me add another piece of mounting rail. I'm going to select OK. I'm going to make the mounting rail match the length of this. I'm going to place the mounting rail here. And now I'm going to put the last components on. In this particular schematic, WD is the identifier they give to cables, so I'm not going to place a cable in here, but I am going to place terminals, and this is the terminal. XD is the identifier for a terminal strip, and I can drag the whole terminal strip. It will ask me if it wants to place the whole terminal strip. I can say yes. And there's the first terminal strip and the second terminal strip. And as you can see, I've identified the different terminals styles with the graphic and the partition plates, the end barriers, and end clamps, as you see. Really easy. And if we look at it as a whole now, obviously you can see you can work out clearance. My terminal's a little bit close to the bottom of the panel there, so I probably want to adjust that. But you can see the clearance available. You can actually measure it if you need to. So it gives you a lot of useful tools. So the last thing I want to show you before we run out of time, so it's taking me a little while longer than I expected. Typically, you're going to want to show this diagram in the schematics so someone can understand what it is that they're looking for or looking at. So if I go into my schematics, and I'm going to go to this area, the model view area, and I'm going to add a new page. I'll make it page number 1. I'm going to say it's the B1 X1 panel layout, and select OK. Here's a blank page. All I need to do is insert a model view, and I'm just going to do 2. The first one, it names it for me, asks me what layout space I want to look for. I'm going to pick this X1 junction box, and here it says, well, what do you want to display? I just want to show the mounting panel. Now I'm going to give myself an isometric view of that and select OK. So there's the view. I can also do the same model view. Pick the same component, again, just the mounting panel. Lines fit. And there we see. It's not labeled as terminals because I've not asked for it, but it has labeled each of the other items, and you can adjust that as you might want to. So that's basically it. That's a very quick and down and dirty demonstration of EPLAN. The one thing I will show you, let me, and I'm going to just quickly, because this is something that you will do. If I'm just going to show you the mounting panel, if I happen to move this device, I need to close and then open that sheet back up again. It recognizes that the model is not up to date. So all I need to do, and this would apply if I'd added more components, change the components, as well as just move them around. I go to Utilities, Reports, and Update. And there it is, there's the updated layout. So once you've generated this, you don't have to go back and generate it. And in actual fact, you can create these automatically as a report like you would a bill of materials if you set it up. That's the most of the demo. It's a very quick introduction to ProPan. It's a very, very powerful tool. You can do things like exchange panels. So if I found I didn't have enough space in here, I can exchange the part. If I wanted a different panel of a similar size, I could change the panel. I've got a one where I could change this to a panel that has glam plates on the side. Exactly the same part, and it's just a straight swap. Something that would take you a lot more to do if you were doing this manual environment or maybe another tool. You can do heat calculations from it because it's capable of working how big the panel is. You can tell it what the parameters are for the control panel, the external temperature, what the ambient is, what the max internal temperature should be. It knows from the components how much heat they generate, so it's able to calculate a total power dissipation, which for Rittal, then you can add that information directly into the Rittal therm calculation tool, and it will offer you an appropriate cooling solution if necessary. So that's it. Do you have any questions?
So he says this may have been addressed in one of the other sessions, but is EPLAN capable of letting users know when something is missing? I'll let Ian take this, but the simple answer is absolutely. And I think, Ian, you can go ahead and kind of show him all those check marks and when something is missing.
Yes. So in basically, yes. This is a neat little tool. As you see, all the items that I know need place in our place, the check mark shows me there. If I deleted an item, it would stay in the list, but the check mark would go away. So, on a very simple basis, yes, there are also tools available. EPLAN has got this check run option. So you open the messages and you go check the project. And I won't bother checking it, but I'll just show you. There are some specific checks for the 3D layout. So things like, is the part completely outside the mounting surface? So if you try to mount an item off the mounting surface, and you saw that was highlighted in with a grid, it would identify. Mounting clearances, are they observed? So for things like VFDs, where you have a certain clearance typically above the VFD, often they can be placed next to each other, but you typically have a clearance above them. You can check for those sort of things. And as you see, there's, without going through them all, there's 69 different checks, one of which was no part assigned to the placement. So you place something and you haven't got the part information. Various different informations checks about what's in the just the 3D layout there, as well as obviously all the other checks that would check your schematics as well. The other thing, if I actually show you, let me find. I think this is a good one. So one of the things, if I look at the front, let's hide the door. So we don't need the door. So I can do things. If I go to the view, I can, for example, I look at mounting clearances, and you see here, here's the clearance that's required for this. It's an SEW Movitrack VFD. So they can be placed close together looking at this, but they need a certain amount of clearance at the top and the bottom. And that clearance comes direct from the part. This part comes from a manufacturer that's downloaded from the data portal. So this information isn't just randomly something we've typed in. This is what the manufacturer has said is the appropriate clearance for this device. And if I made it such that something was in the way, either another component or the duct work, that error checking would identify that. I'll turn that clearances off. I can also view the thermal design. So let's have a look at the power dissipation density. So now you see the items that dissipate the most power are the most red. Items that dissipate the least are blue. So these orange, the most circuit protectors are somewhere in the middle. This items that dissipates a little bit. It's not. It's just on a general scale in terms of a percentage. Because this is red, doesn't mean it's dissipates loads. It's just the most within this panel. So the difference between this and an item that's yellow is purely sort of percentage. This being 100%, the item that dissipates the most heat, and obviously something that's blue being an item that dissipates the least. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much, guys. Thank you.
Great job, Ian.